Okay, this was kind of a weird experience, and I think the person that came to visit me, I think it was a physical person, I think. I'm not 100% sure yet, but I will investigate. Okay, so anyway, Friday I came home from the bookstore. Okay, now on Thursday and Friday I was listening to some videos, that digital wired man that interviewed me or whatever. I was listening to one of his videos, and yeah, it was kind of interesting because he was talking about this guy in my town. He said he saw some being or whatever that asked him, that screamed out to him what year it was or whatever. So anyway, and I think it was in a store parking lot or something like that. But anyway, and he mentioned it was my city and state, and that was kind of weird, but and this, I think this was many years ago. Yeah, but anyway, he does like weird news, weird stuff like that, digital wired digital. But he interviewed me too about 8 or 9 months ago. Okay, so anyway, so Thursday and Friday I was listening to about, that time traveler, about what he was talking about, that guy with that experience with that time traveler. He probably came from the 5th dimension, because there's a lot of humans that live in the 5th dimension, non-physical humans. Okay, so anyway, okay, not only that, so that was before, this experience, a day before or whatever, and two, it was just a few days before this experience, well, and, many months ago, because my grandma died last Christmas, on Christmas morning, and, but she had this old alarm clock, but it was small, it was old, but, not too gaudy or big or anything. And I thought, dang it, I should have took that alarm clock, but it, it's kind of ugly. But I figured I should have maybe taken the alarm clock, but I didn't. Okay, so that's kind of important. The alarm clock and the time traveler thing. Okay, so because I bought this this one alarm clock I had, it stopped working. And so I think I threw it away or whatever, and I bought a similar one, and I can tell it was made cheaper now because it was really lightweight. And I think it was a return item at Walmart. I think they returned it because the stupid alarm was, I don't need an alarm clock. I have an internal psychic alarm clock. But just to be on the safe side, I do try to always set my alarm clock. But now I'm using my cell phone. So, but yeah, so that alarm clock is worthless. The alarm is really faint, like dee, 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 and I'm like, God dang, I can't hear that with my earplugs in. But with my earplugs in, if it's a good alarm clock, I can still hear, like my cell phone just fine. So anyway, before this experience on Friday, I think October 20th was Friday, of course I had that on my brain for several months that I should have taken my grandma's old alarm clock. I guess the alarm part probably worked really good. I don't know. And but it was probably at least 30 years old. And of course, the time traveler topic was on my head because I was listening to that video about that guy that had an experience with a time traveler. Well, they're not freaking time travelers. They're just interdimensional beings that come from another dimension. Nobody knows what dimension they come from, but, so anyway, okay, so then I came home from the bookstore, let's see, what time is it? Okay, I came home from the bookstore at about 7:30, and then I left the garage door up for a few minutes because I was going to go back out there and do something. I can't remember what it was, so I left the garage door up, and the light was on. And then I walked around my house for about probably like 7 minutes. And then somebody knocked on my door. Now this is all in 3D. This is not in the dream state. I wasn't in bed or anything. This was just like right now in 3D. And and somebody knocked on my door. At first I thought it was this friend that I know, but I'm thinking, no, can't be him, because he would not knock like that, like very lightly and very delicately. So this boy, so anyway, I opened the door and I stepped outside and we started talking for like, oh, it had to have been at least 45 minutes. And I don't think an interdimensional being can hold their form that long. I mean, I've had, like with Anthony, I had an experience with him over several hours, but he kept manifesting and demanifesting. He could not hold his form for 2 or 3 hours physically. He had to disappear and reappear and disappear and reappear. But we were out there for at least 40 minutes talking. I mean, it was a long time. At least probably 40 minutes, maybe even a little longer. And he's 14 years old. And so anyway, I started asking him questions like, what school do you go to, and blah, 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 blah. But anyway, it was pretty damn chilly and cold that evening. And like I say, so by the time we went outside, it was like 7:45, and I want to say we talked to almost like 8:30, and then the mom up the street was like, Alex, and I asked her how old she was, and he said she was in her 40s. And I did see her vaguely standing in the yard, even though it was dark time. And I do know the exact house that he lives in and everything. So I will investigate to make sure both of them are truly physical beings or whatever. And I think they are, but I guess I'm not 100% sure yet. And he said he had been living there. Like I said, he lives on the other side of the street, about 4 houses up. And he said he's been living there for 1 year. And I've never seen him before. But, you know, I don't really know all my neighbors. I don't know all the people. I mean, I don't know all the people that live on up and down that street, because they're rental houses. So people come and go year after year. I do know the people well that live, you know, by me on each side and everything. And I do know all the people pretty well on my side of the street, except for a couple houses. But, so anyway, this is just the weird part. Okay, so, you could tell he had Asperger's, whatever, and autism. Like, yeah, I mean, it was just obvious. He had autism, Asperger's, and like I say, this is only the 3rd person I ever met that had it. Like I say, only the 3rd person, and it's just, you know, you could tell. But you could tell he was very, very, very intelligent, and he was, I mean, he was, you know, good-looking kid. He didn't have any acne or anything, but he was only 14, so. But anyway, he had some kind of black pants on. And, but anyway, so this is kind of the weird part. Now, he was barefoot. He was completely barefoot, which that's kind of weird. He was completely barefoot, and he had a black NASA t-shirt on, and with a big round emblem that said NASA, and I think the NASA was like in white letters, and the ring around NASA was like, you know, red, and maybe there was some blue, but it was basically like a black, he had like black pants kind of jeans on, kind of pants kind of jeans, and then the black NASA t-shirt, and he had, and he was barefoot. He had glasses on that I own. There's a pair of glasses just like his that I own, but I don't wear them often because my, you know, they're like 3 or 4 years old and my eyes had already changed, or maybe they're 5 years old. But yeah, I do have exact pair of glasses that he had on, or similar, you know, to what he had on, exact pair of glasses. And but this is the weird thing too. He had goggles on. He had these like normal, I don't know, they just look like normal big O swim clear goggles. But the goggles were up setting on his forehead above his normal glasses. But now why they were sweaty and wet, I have no idea. But they were sweaty and they were wet. And I mean, I don't think he had been exercising. And it was really cold and chilly outside and breezy. Okay, so anyway, he did seem to know a lot about. He started talking about planets and the sun, and I mean, he knew shit that I never would know. You know what I mean? I took astronomy, but I made an F in it. But so anyway, but this kid, but you know how supposedly some of these people that have autism or Asperger's really bad, they're like really, really highly intelligent. Some of them are, maybe not all of them are, but I heard that anyway. And but I mean, you could tell he didn't have it really bad or anything, but you could just tell he was like, he had Asperger's and autism or whatever. And so anyway, and he was fairly, decent looking dude, 14 years old. And he, like I say, he said some terminologies about the planets and the sun and dwarf star and stuff like that. And I did ask him, do you believe in aliens? And a couple other questions. And he just acted like, he said, oh, I just don't, I don't dismiss it or anything. He just acted like he didn't know really if he believed in them or not. He didn't say he did. He didn't say he didn't. And I think I did tell him about the UFO that I just saw too, which was a couple. Actually, I guess maybe it was about a week before that. A week before I met this kid knocking at my door, and I did tell him about that. But anyway, so the weird thing, of course, was, the goggles and the barefoot and stuff like that. But anyway, now here comes the other weird part. The reason why he knocked on my door, well, first of all, I think the reason why he picked my house first was because, it was dark time and my garage door was already up and the lights were on and my car was in the garage. So it's like he knew, okay, that person is home, So I guess that's why he picked my house first. But I did ask him, I was like, did you come to my house first? And he said, yes. But I think that's why he picked my house first, because I looked around, I didn't see any other house that had their garage door up. But anyway, so this was the funny thing. When he knocked on my door, he had this shitty 50-year-old, maybe 60 years old, I don't know, this thing is old, alarm clock in his hands. And he said that he was trying to get rid of it. He said he bought it at a, I don't think he used the word garage sale. I thought he said swap meet or something like that. Maybe he did say garage sale, but he said he bought it at a garage sale. He said he did not know if it worked, and he was trying to get rid of it. So that's why he came to my door and started, knocking at my door all, delicately, because, you could tell he's not a real, masculine boy or anything, you know what I'm saying? So he knocked on my door very delicately. And so anyway, so of course, what am I going to do? Not take it, So I did take it. Okay, anyway, here's the alarm clock. And it does work just fine. But I'm going to get rid of it tomorrow because it's just maybe I should wait a little longer. It's just too gross and too big and too gaudy. But here's the alarm clock. Panasonic. But it works fine. I mean, it works fine. The alarm clock is very annoying, but I mean, it could like make you crazy. But it's very big, very gaudy. My grandmother's alarm clock was a little smaller, like, half, just like this, but half the size. But it was, nonetheless, her alarm clock was still very old. Okay, so anyway, that's the alarm clock. And, so anyway, I mean, it's just kind of weird, But, like I say, I'm pretty sure he's a real physical being, and his mom, but I don't know 100% sure. I mean, I'm going to go investigate, make sure he really does live there, where he says he lives, and make sure, I see somebody similar to the mom that came out. As far as I remember, it looked like she had a robe on. I had pretty good eyes. She had a robe on, seemed like, even though it was many houses up. And she was like, Alex, because he had been talking to me for like 45 minutes. So, and he's only 14, so she wanted him to come home. And another thing he also mentioned was, was, I mean, like I said, I've never seen that kid walking around at all, and I'm home a lot. He knew about those, you know, I made a video of those two weird, the outhouse, or not outhouse, the well and the cellar, the wine cellar, or whatever it's called. You know, the 1912, it says they were built in 1912, but since they're building houses back there, they already tore them up. But he mentioned that, you know, about those structures that were in the back, and I was like, yeah, I know, I took you know, a video of those. And it said, you know, built in 1912. You know, the well was. The cellar, that cellar that went underground, that could have been older, I'm not sure, than 1912. But he mentioned that. I didn't even mention that. He mentioned that. And so, anyway, so I don't know. But I told him I did make a couple videos. I mean, yeah, a couple videos of those structures. But now they're already all dug up and everything because they're getting ready to build the houses now. So he did mention that, and then he mentioned across the street those other woods where somebody else owns it. So in the meantime, there's not going to be anything built on that property because somebody else owns it. So it's going to be woods for a while until they decide to sell it. So anyway, and then he mentioned how the owner of that other woods across the street, how he was sculpting, he was making sculptures out of some of the trees, the tree stumps or whatever. So I'm gonna have to go over there and check that out. But anyway, so that was my weird experience, my weird time traveler experience. I'm calling it a time traveler experience, even though I mean, this kid, but that was the weird part. You know, he was barefoot, which is kind of odd, but some people do like to walk around barefoot. And the goggles, I mean, he looked like this guy that, you know, this dweeby science person, you know what I mean? With the goggles on and the NASA t-shirt and being barefoot. He looked like this dweeby science kid. And he did mention that he may go to this other school because they have more elevated courses. Central High School. So anyway, that was my weird experience. But like I say, the weird thing was, you know, the clock. Like, he just come to my door looking to get rid of a damn clock. That's kind of weird. And then, of course, all the time traveler overtones, undertones, whatever you call it. So anyway, thanks for listening. And his name is Alex.